New York City.
WVFP.
Energy and charisma.
Why is that funny?
It's definitely awkward. Look at me, I'm different.
Get to the point.
This podcast, like the Red Room from...
The opinions expressed by the guests, hosts, and callers of this show do not reflect the views of WVFP or our sponsors.
WVFP.
We're doing Heather versus the Frog right now. My guest today is Liv Van Kuiken. Liv Van Kuiken. I don't know why I tried to do that before Liv got here, but I thought I was practicing, and I thought I had checked with enough people that Liv knew.
Oh, who told you that was my last name?
Thanks for coming today.
Hey.
Liv, you came in hot. You came in like a rocket. We usually clap people in, Liv.
Oh, okay.
Thanks.
I was so worried about being late.
Don't worry about it.
Sorry.
Thanks for coming to our wacky game show. Thanks.
Sorry, I just literally sprinted here.
Liv's a downtown painter who's totally out of breath right now because she thought this was a serious show and she's a serious person.
I just like to arrive on time.
She doesn't want people to think that she's a late person. She's a person who's just whatever in the time. And she's showing up here in a responsible manner, and we appreciate that.
Is there any way special way to do the...
I don't know. Have you ever been on a podcast before?
I have not.
I love what you're doing over there.
Well, this was Tangled.
The person who runs this podcast place has given me this note that I should do this.
Oh,
that I should
one
always
fist
have
away.
a little bit away.
Okay.
But I don't know if that's for everybody because I'm loud, I'm obnoxious, and I'm playing the curmudgeon on this show.
I'm pretty loud, too.
You are loud.
Yeah.
I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding around, Liv. Liv, we usually do some co-host banter before the show starts.
Oh, okay.
But my audience hates it anyway.
Okay.
They're just tuning in for the guest. They don't really want to hear. Maybe they want to hear Heather.
You know, I listen to a lot of podcasts, and honestly,
how do you feel about that?
How do you feel about banter?
I don't love the banter.
I don't. I don't love.
It's the whole show's banter. That's all I have is banter.
Sorry.
You're fine. There's one more water left, Liv. I didn't drink it in case you wanted one.
Okay, yeah, I might take it.
You should.
I bike everywhere, so I'm
nice.
always out of breath.
Yeah, I don't like podcast banter.
My co-host today is Heather Cameron. We're doing Heather versus the Frog today. She's winning.
And I was just sitting here by the Tempe, just you.
She was sitting here by WVFP.
Oh, really?
That's my employer.
Co-host is out?
Well, you know what we've been doing? We've been cycling the co-hosts around. So you had a co-host reach out to you and say, hi, I'm the co-host. But then that co-host was like, I'm not going to be there that day. So, we had some other co-hosts. And we kind of have a rotating co-host thing.
Oh, okay, yeah, because I was messaging him and like, I can't get in. No one will let me in.
The person's like, I don't care. I'm at the beach.
He kept telling me like the same address, and I was like, how do I get in? But
Don't worry, Liv. I'm a professional. I'm just not a professional co-host.
That's true.
Okay.
When you were trapped outside, was it the outside door, the 265 to the
locked,
street?
Yeah, that locks. I think at a certain time.
Well, Liv, they're aware that we're doing a radio show.
Oh.
The last time I did this a little later, I had to run out and give a security guard the names of the people coming in.
Yeah, he was very... I had to explain where I was going.
But then he didn't let them in anyway.
Yeah, he seemed very reticent to let me in.
Do you guys know that Mercury's in retrograde, and do you care about that? Because it's really
No, but when
prevalent.
you said that, I forgot to ask Riley a question. Liv, you're going to have to get a secondhand question.
Okay, sure.
What do you...
Riley, so...
You know what, Riley? We had so much to talk about. I forgot about my solar eclipse question that I was thinking about this morning because I saw that there's going to be a solar eclipse
When?
Cool.
2 years from now.
Oh,
Whoa.
cool.
What's the next one that we can see on the eastern seaboard of the United States? And it's on April 8th, 2024. I was going to ask you if you had any plans for that.
No.
You should get some.
Yeah, I tried to do the last solar eclipse. I was working for James Leary, and we put on some welding goggles and tried to look at it. It
Okay.
really wasn't that interesting.
Oh, don't tell people that. They wait their whole lives to see this thing.
Do you know where
Just
you have
kidding.
to? You know where? Do you know like where you got to be to see it full on?
Yeah, I have it mapped out. I know when you looked at me. You don't believe that because I see the way you looked at me. So let me tell everybody in the New York area, if you want to see the solar eclipse on April 8th, 2024, and you live in New York, your ass is driving to Buffalo.
Buffalo, but
It's
can you
going to
see
be
it?
Buffalo. Yep,
Can
it's
you
in
see
the
it, like,
red. That
But
red
you
path
can see it
zone.
like full on.
The red path zone. They
No
give
way.
you.
That's
they,
worth
they
it. That's
give
not
you
that far.
No, it's not far. I'll be there. I'm going to Niagara Falls for this. It's 2 years in advance. I booked a room.
Cool.
No, I didn't do that.
Well, let's get started.
Wow.
Yeah, and if you live in Texas, it's going to come over Austin and stuff too, you jerks. And then it's going to go through Ohio. Cleveland's going to get a pretty good shot at it.
Nathan, do you think that
Yes,
in
Heather?
April 2024, your cowboy hat will still be in play?
No, we will be like in the 5th or 6th one. People will remember a time when I wasn't wearing a black one because I think that's where we're going next.
So, are you guys artists?
Well, I've been accused of that
She's
before.
like, who are you?
I've been accused of that before.
Okay.
But Liv, we're here to talk about you as an artist.
Okay, let's get started.
We're actually going to get into that now, if
Okay.
you don't mind. I've been taking a look at your resume. You live's a downtown painter. I don't know how long you've been in New York City. How long you've been?
I guess since 2015. I went to Cooper, so I moved here when I was like 18. But I
Yeah.
was kind of around before that because I'm from New Jersey. So
That's the question I wanted to ask. If you're from the greater area.
yeah, I spent a lot of time in New York as like a teenager.
Okay. All right. You're sick of the bullshit already then. I see that you got a lot of shows this year already, including a solo show at King's Leap.
Yeah.
But the more recent show, we'll get to that in a second. The more recent show would be at Chapter.
Right.
And that's really close to here where we're at the studio, right? We're here on Canal, and that was on Walker, right?
Yeah, I think so.
It's over here on Walker. It's it's not far from the studio. You cross Canal. I do like to do New Yorkie stuff. And then you go down Walker here, and it's actually across the alley from the James Cone Gallery.
Yep.
Am I wrong about that?
I think so, yeah.
That's a good feeling. Here you are. You're right next door. You're on a street like Walker. That's a good gallery to be at.
I like Allison a lot. I like Nicole too. I don't know her as well. Yeah, Chapter's cool.
You were also at Shoot the Lobster for a group show. Is that this year still, like August or something?
Yeah, everything started after the solo show at King's. I basically had no shows before then.
I didn't want to say that, but you can see in your resume that it's happening, man.
Yeah.
Do you know that that's one of the reasons I brought you on the show? Because I think my listeners who are very interested in New York, they get some celebrities on here. We've had some people
Is this
on
a
here.
pre-existing show?
This show's been running for 5 years. It's on WVFP. But
Oh, what's
I mean,
it called?
this is gonna be World versus Frog on WVFP probably. But I'm
Okay.
titling it tomorrow. My deadline's tomorrow to title it. It could be Fancy Man.
Okay.
You don't want on the inside of the process, really.
Is it on like Spotify?
Oh, I'm
or-
sorry. It will be released on Patreon first,
Oh.
and then if some of them have to be free, which I'm against, but I don't run the network.
Okay.
If some of them are advertised for free, then they might show up on iTunes and they might show up on other places. I'm actually not in control after, not control of all the sites, and I don't really know how all that stuff works.
Okay.
But this episode, you are not taking any bullshit from me. This
No, I
episode,
hate bullshit.
I know you do, Liv. Liv, it is obvious through the way you DM that you don't take bullshit.
Oh.
You
Are
don't
you mainly
use-
Manhattan?
Yeah.
Okay. So you're the guy I was talking to. Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
Cool. I would just.
This is a weird experience, right? You've come down here on a weird radio show. You can see that it's kind of comedy, and that doesn't you don't like that very much. And also, you're meeting some weird internet people. But Heather's here, and that should make you feel better.
Okay. Sure. Yeah.
She's a normal person.
Okay.
Yes.
So we had the Shoot the Lobster show with Riley. We already talked about where that is. It's over on Eldridge. King's Leap's further down Manhattan. It's on Henry Street.
Yeah.
When Allen comes down Manhattan, it turns into Pike at the end. It's just a few more blocks of Pike to hit the water, and that's where King's Leap is. The kids know it because it's below Dime Square.
Yep.
Yeah. Can you tell me when this show was? Shoot the Lobster ended in August.
Yeah.
So
the
this show
King's
must have
Leap
been
show was
earlier.
in July.
King's Leap show was in July. Okay. And you had a lot of pieces in it. Maybe how many?
Six paintings.
There were 6 paintings. That's a lot. Do you get worried about? This is your first Manhattan solo show.
Yeah.
You get worried about putting things next to each other after you've made them?
No, I don't think about it ever.
Did you didn't think about it until the day you got there, or you
I
considered
mean, I
it?
thought about it a little bit before I built like a model of the gallery, but Alec and I were like disagreeing a lot about the curation of the show. So
right. Which happens sometimes.
Yeah, it does happen. But it sorted itself out pretty easily. It wasn't too, like, in terms of what goes next to each other, the room really dictated where things should go.
The reason I ask you is because I think as the viewer or the gallery participant, you can also, sometimes you get the right idea about juxtaposition. Sometimes you don't, because the paintings next to each other are not concerned with each other, but maybe you don't know that. And, I thought about that when I looked at your show, because you have Juliet and Justine.
Those paintings were meant to be
Were
together.
they, it's weird. It's a weird thing where you think it, like, the show implies that.
Yeah.
But sometimes, as somebody who's had the wrong impression, because it's just not that smart of a person, I go into a gallery, I see a juxtaposition like that, and now
Yeah.
So I wanted to ask,
They were made as, like, sisters, because they're sisters in the Sod novels, but I wasn't, like, I didn't really expect to even show them. So I wasn't thinking about them like physically in proximity to each other.
That's what I think. I mean, just in my world, to put a show together, unless I had thought about it all specifically as a show, then once I put it together, I'd be worried about what the person thinks about the juxtaposition that's viewing it. I don't know. I was asking you about my own fears.
What did you think about the juxtaposition?
Well, I asked you that because I wanted to make sure I wasn't projecting those two works together and they're just next to each other.
No, they were made in...
I know we just met, but do you think I'm more of a Juliet or a Justine?
I think you're neither.
I have to tell you, I like the Justine. It's got some nice green in it.
I like Justine better, too.
I love that painting.
I like that painting a lot better. That was the first one.
Really?
I just
That's
made-
before Juliet.
Yeah, I made Julia to be her sister.
Oh, okay. I like Justine.
I like Justine better, too.
The green in it's really wonderful.
It's a nice green.
You did the other paintings on that show, or the Drown Girl, the big blue one.
Yeah.
When I was on the subway looking at your work, the woman next to me leaned over and said, "I like that one."
That one definitely reads over image better.
You think so?
Yeah. That was
Okay.
that was a real breakup painting.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
That's funny to know.
Yeah.
Do you want to tell us anything else about it? I know the mirror painting too from that show.
The Drown Girl one was like, there's red earrings at the bottom. I guess I was thinking about like that meme where Kim Kardashian loses her earrings in Bora Bora.
Yeah.
But also kind of like Titanic, or there's just a lot of like tropes about people like losing jewelry in the ocean and stuff like that. And I kind of wanted to point to that.
You had lost something in the ocean.
No.
I lose a lot of things in life. I like works of art that kind of insinuate to what the person, maybe what the subject in the painting doesn't know. Does she know her earrings are down there?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Well, I hope
she has to make
gets
a
it.
choice whether to like go.
Oh,
to it or not,
okay. Okay. All right.
Did you see the show in person?
I did not see the show in person. I was in New Mexico, but I think if you followed my Instagram, I like to promote the shows that I like.
No, of course. I just think it's like a different experience in person.
Of course.
The paintings feel very different.
Do you feel like remounting the show just for my pleasure?
No. It was very hard to mount.
These things are very difficult, and they take a lot of your energy, man.
Yeah, I had to re-stretch and reframe the paintings to get them downstairs at King's Leap.
Right.
Yeah, which was a lot. It was busy. It was physically demanding.
The last guest was talking about transporting works of art on the street. And whenever I see a painter on the street, I feel so bad for the energy because you have to carry it away from you. The side that you carry against your body can't be the front side, but now you cannot see the front side. Do you know what I'm talking about?
Yeah, no,
You're
I
walking down the
know.
street, you
I
don't know how
know,
close
yeah.
the other person is to it. And
Yeah.
that's the important side, but it has to point away from you a lot of the time.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. I find this to be extremely anxiety ridden, and when I see other people doing it on the street, I have this like kinship with them. I followed a guy the other day I followed him for an extra block that I didn't have to walk because I was almost worried about him. He had such a large painting on him, and the wind was getting him a little, and the people on the street were not cooperated. And I filmed him a little, but I didn't put it up because I was like, okay, you're a psycho now. But I felt just so much like I wanted to go with him to make sure everything was going to be fine.
Okay.
It was a little weird for me.
Cool.
Once it becomes a sale, it's all over.
Yeah. What do you, so you did the King's Leap show and now you're getting a lot more offers or a lot more inclusion?
Yeah, it seems that way. Yeah, it felt like for a really long time, no one wanted to show anything. But now...
Are you putting a lot of pressure on yourself? Because, you know, I'm not sure when you graduated from Cooper Union.
I graduated in 2019.
Well, that's not that long ago.
It's not, no.
You're putting a lot of pressure on yourself, Liv.
No, I don't think so.
Oh, okay.
No.
Well, can you make news today about what might be coming up? So if people are reaching out to you a lot, do you have anything in the future?
Nothing particularly large I want to announce. I've definitely been talking to a lot of galleries, and I had like a lot of studio visits this week. So no, nothing. I mean, I guess I'm gonna do a group show with Riley out in LA somewhere, and then
Los Angeles, baby.
And then there's like a group show in France that I'm in, opening in like November.
Will you be there?
No.
Thank God.
But no, I
Paris in November. No, thank you.
it's in Nice, but I don't have any like concrete plans for like a big solo show or anything coming up.
Would it make you feel better if you did?
It would no, because there is one coming. I know.
Okay.
But it just isn't in. It's not concrete enough to announce.
I feel you. Yeah. I feel you. Okay. So you're not worried because you see the stuff coming in and you can see the future now.
A bit. I mean, maybe things can always change, but...
Do you feel, are you one of those people who has to know what the next project is? You know, are you...
No.
Is there any workaholic stuff going on there?
I'm a workaholic. I work all the time. I'm always painting.
Right as you're sitting here right now, are you wishing you weren't involved in the stupid show so you could go home and work?
Yeah.
Yeah. I know. I understand that. Do you also...
I'm sorry if I'm being...
Do you ever... No, you're not.
I just don't have...
This is the Liv
weird.
that I wanted. I wanted the serious painter, and I knew who you were, Liv, before I invited you here.
Cool.
And I know that you're not taking bullshit. Okay. I do understand that. And I actually, just because I play a little bit of a comedy part on here, doesn't mean we don't take our guests seriously. And I wasn't using notes for your show before. I actually learned that stuff over a period of time. I did not have to study for your show.
Okay.
Because I already know stuff. I'm actually a guy around town, you know. Do you live really far from downtown, Brooklyn, Queens kind of thing?
I live in Brooklyn, yeah.
All right. So for my audience who's interested in like, you know, what does it look like?
Does your audience not have maps?
My audience is
Seems like they need
No, I love that.
directions.
I love that New Yorkie stuff. I like
Is it New Yorkie stuff to
Yeah.
the streets? I feel like...
Yes. I know you're from New Jersey and you don't care where the streets are in New York.
Are you from New York?
No.
I'm just curious.
I'm from South Florida.
Okay,
originally.
that makes
That's why
sense.
I'm such an idiot.
Yeah.
They don't wear these hats there, though. I don't want you to get the opinion that this is from Miami or something.
I didn't get that opinion.
That they hate this hat, though. Do you think New Yorkers hate this hat or people from New
Yes.
Jersey? No. People in Miami are actually not amused either. If I wasn't wearing this hat when you came in, would you have had a lot more patience?
Maybe.
Tell the truth. Right. I don't know. The last guest seemed to have the same opinion. Sometimes people come in here and they laugh and they realize I'm a stupid radio guy, stupid radio hat. And sometimes people are a little offended, like I wore a costume to their interview.
I'm not offended about the costume. Okay. I just thought there would be more serious questions.
You didn't... Really? Well, you haven't had that many shows, Liv. I tried to look at what it was.
Oh, okay.
You thought that this might be a theory-based show. You know, I had some guests in here recently we did a show about gallery talk.
Oh, okay.
And, you know, and these were veteran artists. I don't want to name drop them yet, but the episode comes out tonight, I think.
Sure.
And they told me that I should stop doing it because I sound stupid. I can't.
Yeah, okay.
Heather was going to help me open this whiskey. This is not...
Okay.
I'm really curious, though, actually, like, because, so, I'm a different kind of artist.
What kind of artist are you?
I'm a costume designer.
Oh, that's
I work
cool.
in theater and film.
I love theater.
And I went to art school.
Where'd
but
you go?
I went to RISD.
Nice. When'd you graduate?
2010.
Nice.
Yes. I went back and worked there for a few years, but I'm in a different world. So I'm really curious, like, when you say, you know, more serious questions, like, what kind of stuff would you want to talk about? Like, because We want to hear it.
Well, I don't know. I just thought.
This was the most serious episode I've ever done. That's true.
I'm sorry.
Liv,
I
you know
don't
what?
want to be like
Liv,
a bitch.
let me tell you something,
I
Liv.
just am like.
Let me tell you something, Liv. When Riley left here, we had a conversation about how we shouldn't be as silly as we were on her show, because we're trying to be very respectful to you. And you're one of those painters that I respect that you don't take bullshit, because I see your work as serious, and I see a serious person behind there. And the word serious doesn't facilitate. I don't want to use the word diligent. I want to use a word like almost like dedicated, but not to say that other painters are not.
Do you want to say rigorous?
Yeah, I do. I feel when I asked you before if you'd rather be home working and not here, I wasn't just being comedic about this format. I meant that I think a lot of people like you are like that, that a lot of times they'd rather be working.
Yeah.
And that gets you where you're at.
I'm just curious why you guys brought me on the show.
Well, we wanted to feature you as a downtown New York City painter that we are excited about.
Cool. All right. Well, you heard it here first.
I want to give a big round of applause for Liz coming on the show today.
My name is
Liv,
not
I'm sorry. Liv.
Liz.
I'm sorry, Liv.
Wow.
Thank you very much, Liv, for coming on the show today. I think that whether it's King's Leap or Shoot the Lobster or Chapter New York, I think we're going to be seeing you a lot downtown. I'm going to be at the gallery. You're going to be like, there's that fucking guy again. And you know what? I'm going to take your notes, and I'm going to get a little more theoretical with the guests in the future.
Okay.
And I'm going to get my little toes back in the gallery speak there. But I want to let you know that I really do respect you. And I respect the New York City painter thing. And I think you guys, as a discipline, have it harder sometimes in the city because you do have to go home and work. Sometimes I think the writers have it a little less hard. But I want to give a big round of applause for Liv for coming on the show and kind of dealing with our shit, you know, just because we like her. That's it, Liv. Thanks a lot. You're free to go.
That's it?
Well, we have more time, but
you-
we're not.
do you
You are
want me?
not a prisoner here in the studio.
No,
today.
I mean, I just, okay.
I want to ask
You
you
just
a
want to
question.
cancel the interview?
No, no. We'll keep the interview. But
I actually want to ask you. I'm curious.
I'm no way gonna. We're keeping the interview. The interview's going, baby. We can't stop it now. We just work here, you know.
Okay.
We were talking to our last guest about artists and writing and painters and writing, and I'm curious about you and your relationship to writing, and if you write about your work or
I write a lot, yeah. And I
And-
love writing by other artists.
You do the blurbs and you do your own stuff.
Well, yeah, I wrote the press release for King's Leap with Alec. I mean, yeah, I don't know who the fuck would be writing for me at this point. But
I'll do it. I could be.
yeah.
you're not hired. I think.
You're not booked here today,
But
Friday.
yeah, I really love writing by other artists. I love Carol Dunham's writing. I love Peter Halley's writing. He has a great book. Amy Silman is an incredible writer.
Yes.
Love Ad Reinhardt is a really great writer. There's so many great writers in history, like Uta Kother. She's an incredible writer. I really love all their writing. In fact, I think that's some of my favorite writing about art is writing about art by other artists, because I feel like there's a different connection to material.
Yeah, that's true. I understand that.
Right.
I do a lot of like, you know, mold making and concrete kind of stuff like that. You know what I mean? I have a connection to people working in materials like that.
What makes somebody like Amy Silman such a great writer?
It's a really good question. The way I'm trying to think of a specific essay. I guess I can think of the like Abex and Disco Balls essay, because I've read that a bajillion times and I can remember it really well. I don't know. She does a really good job of breaking things down, like physically, like as a painter. And I don't know. I guess she writes from a painter's perspective. I think painters have a different perspective than critics and historians. Like,
Is it the
I'm not
connection?
answering this very well.
No,
but
it's
No,
different.
you're doing a great job.
Is it the connection to the materiality?
I think it's that. I think it's also the connection to other painters. So you're able to like really reference, like she and Carol Dunham are able to really reference specific references in terms of like being like, I knew this painter. I knew that they were dealing with this specifically, both materially and conceptually, because I talked to them about it. And like, I don't know, I think there's a way that like artists talk about other artists where, like, I feel like if I say Amy Sillman, it triggers an image of what that kind of
You kind of like
is.
the inside ball talk of it.
Yeah, it's able.
Do you feel like it's written for other artists, or do you feel like it's written for a wider, like?
I think it's written for other artists, and in that way, it probably isn't very generous to a non-artist reader. But I do think, like in terms of writing for other artists, it is like some of the best.
Do you think there's like a balance that can be struck there, where there's like writing that can be from artists for artists, but also can kind of like bring in a wider audience on the?
I think the
plane?
Stephen Shore book that just came out, his like diary and like him talking about his history of photography and like him being like, this is a photograph I took, this is what happened when I took it, and blah, blah, blah. I think that's a book that really bridges that gap. Mm-hmm. That's for non-artists and artists alike.
Stephen Shore.
Yeah, that was a really good book.
That's great.
People love the biography. I know I do. Like, what were you doing the day the show came out? You know, a lot of people like the biography juxtaposition, even when it doesn't complement the show. They want to know. That's kind of what this show's about, Liv. It's about who the artist is.
Oh, okay.
Not, you know, it is about it. You know, was about your work. You know, but we're trying to feature New York City personalities, just kind of where they stand. You know what I mean?
Can you talk a little bit about your studio practice, or would you like to talk about that?
Is it here in the city, the studio?
No, it's in Ridgewood.
Okay. I used to live there.
I go after work most days. I work for Ugo Rondinone, and I go on the weekends and stuff. My studio practice, I feel like, started when I was in college, obviously. For me, it was a really big question. I think I was very interested in materiality. I started as a photographer, actually, before I came to Cooper, like as like a teenager. Mm-hmm. But I was really into like Liz Deschennes and like a lot of really abstract, like process-based photography.
Like Francesca Woodman?
No.
My bad.
So like looking at how an artist makes a photograph not using a camera, like very like Barbara Caston and people like that. I was really into that, and that was also really big at the time. But I think I got really into the idea of like how to look at a photograph and deconstruct it and its process. But anyway, so I came in like pretty interested in abstraction, but I was like, how do you make an abstract painting in 2020? Like, how do you make an abstract painting that doesn't immediately refer to abstraction? Because people see abstract paintings and they're like, that's an abstract painting, and they like turn their brain off and stop thinking about it. It's like a category that like blunts itself.
They believe they don't have a lot of work to do there.
Not even necessarily that, but just they're able to, like, I mean, I guess I am able to see from this perspective because my family's not artists and I didn't grow up like going to museums all the time. And so I remember seeing an Ad Reinhardt painting at the Whitney and just being like, what the fuck?
Right.
And so I was very curious, like, how to make something abstract that doesn't immediately refer to Ad Reinhardt. Like, how do you make a non-objective painting that isn't just a copy of non-objective painting? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So for me, it comes down to language and, like, how do you have a painting that refuses language while including language? It's really a question of like how language conflicts with itself and cancels itself out, or
you mean like the language of abstraction, the language of figured.
I mean like language generally, in the sense of like when I cut my arm and I can feel the cut and I can see the cut, and then you cut your arm, I can see that cut and identify it and understand that feeling. But if I'm the only person in a community with like a cut off leg, then it becomes this alienating language, and there is a lack of language. Like, it becomes an island, or it's like this, I don't know, it's this like language has nothing to attach itself to, and if it cannot attach itself to other language, it becomes this isolated being, and it like kind of stops being language in a way. And so I guess that like idea of how language functions, rather than like the language of painting specifically, or the language of symbols, or the language of like, you know, language like I'm talking right now.
Right. I was
language.
just thinking, do you think that you went to Cooper Union? Is there a lot of like, how do they prepare you for that kind of like having the language that you're supposed to use, you know, to sell your work?
I don't
Do they teach you anyway? Like I don't want to use the phrase gallery speak again, but do they give you the tools to discuss your own work, in school? Do they try to give you that kind of theory?
Yeah. Yeah, sometimes.
Was it good? I mean, does it work?
Yeah,
Or are you
I
kind of pushing back against that and saying that maybe the language is too in front and it's too important?
No, I don't. No. I liked it. I felt like I learned a lot of art history. But Cooper's a really self-directed place. You can leave with a degree and not do anything, or you can.
Oh, that sounds fun.
Yeah,
I would be into that.
It can be very fun.
Yeah.
No, I'm not pushing back against the language of art speak or anything. It's more about like the idea of how language functions in our world.
Disambiguated.
Yeah.
I understand that. Everything's kind of floating around, especially if the show is about. Maybe there's something to be said there about how much construction we put around art shows. It's got to have the place. It's got to have the blurb. It's got to have the stuff. But we're there to see the painting.
Yeah, I think it's a mix. I think some paintings are more revealing they reveal themselves faster. You're able to look at it and like really get it. And then there are some paintings that are much slower, like in Ad Reinhardt. It's much less immediately. It's not like throwing out all these symbols that you would be able to know. Like if a painting has like a vape in it, like that's like a cultural thing that you can grab onto and start to access the painting from. But if it doesn't have that, it becomes a much slower process. And so I do think in many ways the writing around painting can be very helpful for learning how to access that language. But I don't think it's necessarily necessary in order to understand the work. I mean, I think also there is all this like, I don't get it, I get it, blah, blah, blah stuff. And so people, I think maybe when people saw paintings before there was this whole educational infrastructure around the art world, they were almost more receptive to like a Rothko painting. They were able to just, I mean,
they're left to their own.
It depends. There will always be people that are like, I don't like that it's not a horse. But, so I do wonder if that used to be different because now people expect all this writing around work. But
maybe it used to be like other things where you knew if you knew. Maybe all the gallery speak and all that stuff comes from the fact that the viewer used to not know, and then the attraction was there was an in group of people, the artists, people around them, and they knew, and then you would listen to them talk, and hopefully get smarter.
I actually disagree with that. Okay. I think that one of the movements that's seen as the most like alienating and hard to understand is like minimalism. People really struggle with that, but in fact, it is based in phenomenology and like is trying to make it so your body can immediately understand the work. Yeah. And so there's like a weird paradox with that work in that that's some of the work that the most like writing and language and like weird shit has been built around.
And it doesn't need it.
Ironically, is built specifically for your body to understand immediately. But I don't know. So I think that's really weird. I don't know how to resolve it necessarily.
Do you think in that time period that the writing around art was just ascendant, and in general, writing around ABEX was so important because in the time period, literature in New York City was ascendant? And
that's a good question.
Do you think maybe those things, kind of happened together as a New York City movements where now we're in ABEX and there's a lot of writers around. They need something to do.
Yeah, I don't know. That's a good question. I'm not sure.
This is the intellectual, what we call the intellectual era of New York City writing, the 50s, right? Where it's all very
like 50s
formal.
60s.
Mm-hmm.
I was curious about, I mean, I know when we're talking about language, we're talking about more than just words.
Right, yeah.
But I'm curious about I think your titles are also really interesting and really specific. And I wonder, like, how do you use titling your work to either, I don't know, provide a lifeline to meaning or even deter, or like what are you doing?
Oh, man.
When you say deter, you mean almost like setting a trap
almost
to
like
renegotiate. Yeah, to renegotiate.
I definitely think about that for sure.
I always do that. This show does that constantly.
Titles are really hard. I really struggle with them. For a long time, I really didn't know what to title my works, and I don't know. I was really struggling with it. And I would come up with like different things, and then people would be like, "What does that title mean?" And I'd be like, "I forgot that I titled it this." It's funny. My friend was like, there was a painting in my show at King's Leap that was like called Janice, and my friend was like, "I love that title," and I was like, "What the fuck does Janice mean?" No,
I don't remember Janice.
it's a two-headed
She
creature.
clock me.
She clock, me clock, we clock.
We clock, yeah. There was a painting that was just titled that, the yellow one.
Yeah.
Oh, this one you're mentioning, I don't know if I remember. Okay.
Yeah, that one definitely. I mean, it's funny that title just came really naturally. It just rolled off the tongue. They all come differently. Some are some Mirror is really obvious. Drown Girl, I thought was a really obvious. I mean, that was like the names Jesse and Juliet, obvious. The paintings in the chapter show.
Well,
right
then,
now,
are you trying to help the viewer when you title? Then is that your motivation to help? them?
No, definitely not.
Okay.
I was thinking about this a lot with the show at chapter right now. The one that's up, that's like the green painting of the girl lying down.
Yeah.
That was really
I love that painting, and that's when you showed it chapter here on Walker Street.
Yeah.
That's why you're on the show. I love that.
Cool.
painting.
Thanks. Yeah, that painting was just a drawing that I did, and I'd been working on the painting for a while, and then finally added this drawing on. It started to come together. There's usually a point where one element comes into the paintings, and then they suddenly start to get together. But I wasn't really sure what to title that one because it was based on, or is heavily influenced by the Toulouse-Lautrec painting, The Bed. Mm-hmm. If you look at the pillow and the colors and stuff. I mean, obviously it's a really different painting, and I was kind of like, oh, do I paint it, name it something about a bed, or something corny. I don't know. But my friends were like, those are all corny ass titles that you're thinking of. And I just named it Untitled. Sometimes they're just Untitled because I'm like, I really don't know what would be correct. And Untitled is a good way of deferring things.
Isn't it better to not pick a title that you didn't really want because it's time to pick a title?
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
I agree with that.
When people
there
don't name their babies for a minute.
Yeah, the show sometimes for me, if you can say what you want, Liv, but sometimes for me it's a countdown, like you live on death row, and then you got to, you're asked to title things that maybe you didn't want to, and it's best maybe not to do it.
Yeah, I didn't even name my cat on accident.
Yep.
For how long?
Well,
How far did you get before you started telling people we have to name the cat? We should do that now.
I came up with names, and my friends were like, "Those are bad names," and so one of my friends was like, "Well, you can just wait until her personality comes out," and then her name is Kitty.
Right.
Yeah, classic.
It happens.
It does happen. That's okay.
She loves you nonetheless.
Yeah, she's an untitled.
No
cat.
idea.
I have a cat, and I didn't choose his name, and I often also call him Kitty.
What's his name?
His name is Indy.
Okay.
Do you try to be respectful sometimes? When you're mad, you're like, Mr. Indy.
Oh yeah, Mr. Indy comes up a lot, but he's Kitty too, so he's got a lot of names. But
yeah, it's also just me and him, or me and my female cat. So it's not like she knows what her name is. But I named the cats at work, actually. We have 2 cats at my job, and I named them Gilbert and George, which is really cute.
Those are good names.
Yeah, those are such cute names.
Gilbert
right?
is a good name for a cat.
Oh, he's around.
I watched this Chloe Savinity stupid YouTube when I lived in Bushwick. I don't know how many years it's been, but in the YouTube video, she suggests
Who is
that
this?
Chloe Savinity, the actor.
Sevigny?
Sevigny. Is that how you say it?
Sevigny.
I've just come out of my house.
It's okay.
There's a running joke on the show that I don't know how to pronounce anything.
Oh, okay.
I'm just doing it. I've never said that to anybody before. I don't know. I've never mentioned this actress to somebody in real life.
Okay,
That's what's
cool.
happened. She put out a video when I first moved. Maybe I've been living in Bushwick for a while. But the thrust of the video was if you didn't know your bodega cat's name, then you were kind of a bad New Yorker.
Oh, that's funny.
So I felt bad, and I went to the bodega near me in Bushwick, and I asked the guy, I saw the cat, to pet the cat. I'd seen the cat before. I thought of this cat specifically. Let's go find out what that one cat's name is. And I went down there. I ghosted around for a while, and then the dude showed up, and I was like, hey, man, what's the cat's name? He looked at the cat. He said, I don't know. And I said, well, I felt like this was incomplete. I was like, can we give the cat a name? Because I came down here specifically to be a good New Yorker. And he said, Miss Cat. I said,
that's
there we go.
cool.
It's Miss Cat. And now I'm not a bad New Yorker.
That's funny.
Everything's fine.
My neighborhood pet store has we have no bodega cats, but we have the pet store cats, Tiger
Right.
and Princess.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Well, I hope they find it. They're pet stores. I hope they find a home soon.
No, they're hanging. They're
You're making me worried now.
No.
Oh, they're the...
They sell pet food.
Okay, so so the neighborhood cats hang out around the pet store,
Yeah.
and they're saying through the bars, "We will free you someday. We know you're in there, and we miss
They
you."
don't sell pets. They sell accoutrement.
Oh, okay,
for
really?
Pets. Yeah.
Oh, all
You know
right.
what I'm saying?
I don't know.
You know
I
what?
get
I don't have a goddamn pet.
I love cats and I want to talk about them a lot, but I also want to ask another question.
Please do it. I don't think I should.
And not to take it away from cats, but what about what about drawing? Do you draw a lot?
I draw all the time,
And
actually.
do you keep a sketchbook?
I do.
I'm always curious. I always like artists. I keep a sketchbook. I always have, and I always love seeing artists' sketchbooks, like especially like painters' sketchbooks.
Right, yeah.
So I'm always curious about people's sketchbook practice if they have one.
Yeah, actually, someone came to my studio recently and was like, "Why don't you show these drawings?" And I was like, "No one's ever asked me to."
Yeah.
I draw all the time. Yeah, I wasn't a huge drawer until the pandemic, weirdly. I had become a drawer right before that, like literally January 2020, because I was commuting like 3 hours a day.
Yeah.
So I was like, gotta do something. So I started drawing, and then when the pandemic happened, I like went to the art store right before it closed for like a long time, and bought like a ton of pens, and I was drawing a lot, like all day, and then I really got into the habit of it and became like a real drawer.
You do a lot of drawing studies for the paintings?
Yeah,
The newest one at Chapter, if you don't mind me saying, is probably drawing intensive.
yeah.
Yeah.
And so I got really into drawing, which added so much to my practice. I didn't ever keep a sketchbook because I always would take the paintings out of like individual sketch pads and hang them on the walls, or the drawings, not the paintings, to remind me or like cue my memory. Like, oh, I wanted to make that painting. I forgot. Although my friend Zoe made me a special like handmade book and gave it to me the night of my show, and I've been drawing in that a lot, and it's really special. I love it, and it's fun to flip through. And certain things happen. Like I recently made a painting that was like 2 pages of the sketchbook that were different drawings. But then when I opened it up, I was like, wait, that would make a really cool painting. These 2 things like next to each other. So yeah, the sketchbook is cool because weird things like that can happen, which is fun. It's like just a different way to cue yourself.
You're saying you're drawing on your commute. Were you drawing like people in the subway or like what do you do?
No, I was just drawing like shapes.
Cool.
Yeah.
You draw a lot on the subway with other people?
You know what? I used to.
Yeah. Have you ever gotten in trouble? Like you're looking at somebody weird and they're like, they don't know why. You're drawing them, but they don't know that.
Not trouble, but like people definitely will catch you, and then it's awkward.
Me and you have a mutual friend, and she draws on the subway all the time.
Yeah.
And sometimes it scares the crap out of me because I see that the other person sees.
Right.
And they're like,
Well, this friend is also,
I don't want any trouble,
she's bold though too.
True enough.
I'm a little bit more shy about that kind of stuff.
I don't know. I can never tell. I just live in this little weird artist bubble life, and I can't ever tell if any people's mad about what I'm doing. Obviously I think they are, but I can't never tell. If I'm sketching something and nobody likes it or whatever, too much of an autism thing, you have to come over and tell me. Stop drawing my family. It's the only way I'm gonna know what's happening.
Never had anybody say anything, but so
Wear this hat for a while and you'll find out.
But so that's like changed your painting practice a lot.
Yeah, it has. It has. It used to be a lot more improvisational and like me responding to the painting, but now it's more of like a conversation between me and like what I'm going. Like I'm more of an image to work towards rather than like this open-ended thing, and that was like I feel like the lock and key that I needed.
That's great. But I'm sure it's also like it's still an open conversation, right? Like
Oh, absolutely. I definitely don't feel like the drawings ever translate one-to-one or are like perfectly.
Right.
You know, the paintings never look just like the drawings ever. I wish. I wish it was that easy.
Yeah. Are there any famous painters who didn't draw it first besides Caravaggio? Because that's the only one I know.
he probably drew.
Probably Ellsworth Kelly.
Yeah. That seems amazing feat to me, especially some of the people.
Jackson Pollock wasn't very good at drawing, I think.
Well, I was just thinking like, okay, well, maybe he doesn't need to be. But a lot of painters like Caravaggio, when you find out that there's no drawing underneath that painting, that's fucking weird to me that there isn't. But
Caravaggio definitely drew.
But not on the canvases, right? Is there no drawing underneath them? I thought there was some kind of legend like that. Look at me. I'm
can draw
fucking
with
throwing
a
misinformation out.
Oh, I don't know.
No, that's
Yeah,
true.
you can draw
No.
with
He's definitely scaling. He's definitely scaling. Yeah, I'm not, I wouldn't.
You know what?
It's not magic or something.
Drawing is really open-ended definition.
That's right. Like language.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like
It-
language, which I'm contorting and maliciously using quite a bit. I don't think it's good for anybody. I think we've conversated right up to the butt end of this goddamn time period, and I
Great.
really appreciate it, Liv.
Cool. Thank you so much for having me on.
Yeah.
Sorry.
You have been a great guest, and this is the third time you've said that maybe you weren't a good guest. I don't believe it, Liv.
You
Doesn't
did
matter
not.
what you said. I didn't call you Liz
Not
again.
really.
I said Liv, and you know what? I think you've been a wonderful guest, and I
Great.
want everyone else listening to this, who's downtown, who loves theory, who thinks they're too smart for this show. You're too smart for this show.
I don't
But
think
you
that
should
was
come on anyway.
show.
Everyone should come on
I
anyway.
never said that. I don't. think
Every
I'm too
single
smart.
person with a brain cell is smarter than this show, Liv.
Okay. Well,
But thank you very much.
wait.
We're going to give you another clap off.
Liv, do you have anything like to see right now? I think we said it, but just say. is it-
Yeah.
You wanna dial us out?
Up
Okay,
at Chapter
great.
Gallery. Yeah.
Oh, you're still up at Chapter.
It's still-
Everybody
it's
go
still-
over there to Walker.
Okay,
Okay.
great.
Okay, thanks a lot.
I appreciate it. I hope you guys go and see the chapter show in person.
Yeah,
I definitely will.
absolutely.
All right.
Thanks a
Sorry,
lot.
I didn't mean to be-
I apologize for the security guard if he
let
does
me
anything
know
weird.
where-
Oh, we're boot friends.
Yeah, let me
Look
know
at these
where I can
boots.
find this.
I will mail
Like,
it.
link to it or something.
It comes out in the next 48 hours. I will give you a link. I'll send it to you. They'll be on a payment platform. It might be locked up. I don't know.
Nice to meet you, Liv.
Thanks a lot.
Take care.
Well, Heather, thanks for being a co-host today.
Thanks.
This is
Nathan.
your second episode, and boy, it's been pretty crazy.
Yeah, it was a spicy one.
Wow. If you ever come back here, I would be pretty amazed. Don't tell me now because I'm not cutting the checks anyway. I don't give a crap. But thanks for you coming. We never do these after guest convos because, oh, look, this is my favorite audio engineer's back. I'm going to get off the radio now so I can talk to my favorite audio engineer.
But I don't
But
know.
I want to wrap this up. Nobody hangs on after the guests. We usually just...
Yeah.
You clap it out.
Did you feel like we need a little debriefing there? Or
I
you-
need a dunking in some cold water after the whole thing.
you okay?
Listen, you know what? There's not a requirement on the show that you think I'm funny. I would never do that to everybody.
No.
So you can come on this show, you can look me right in the face, and you say, get to the fucking point.
Yeah.
Get to the point already. What are we doing here? And I want to thank you, Heather, for coming on the show. I think you were a great co-host.
Thank you for having
We've
me.
had some doozies on this show, and you've been pretty awesome. I can't believe you don't do this professionally.
Oh my goodness. Well, thank you so much. Maybe
You should start a competition podcast. you should start a podcast that's like one letter off from this podcast and just be like, yo, we could beat this guy. We could take this guy.
I wouldn't have as many good jokes, I have to say.
Oh, trust me, none of it's planned out. We're flying by the seat of our pants here. All right. And, I'm not going to clap you out, but I'm clapping in my heart.
Okay, thank you so much.
Thanks a lot, Heather,
been
for
great
coming.
to be here.
WVFP. Thanks a lot, everybody.